Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back on the Money Is Show, and today we have a special guest all the way from New Jersey, all the way from the East Coast, flew out here, and a special guest will be on the show today. We connected earlier with a lot of similar stories as we came up, and I'm excited to have him on the show. His name is Fuquan, and Fuquan has been in real estate since 1999. That was before I got into it. He got into real estate. He's been in it now for over 20 years inside of real estate, doing single-family homes, multifamily, wholesale, fix and flip, rental properties. We'll dive in a little bit about that, but he also is a fund manager. And I know a lot of you questions we get is about capital, and this is a guy who started in real estate and now is in the fund management side and has his fourth fund launched. We'll talk about the fund management side, but I think above all of that, there's two things that stuck out to me about Fuquan that I want you guys to know as you sit here and listen to him. Number one is he is above all, he's a father, and he's got two incredible sons, and he's given his life to his two children, and he's a super dad to his two boys, and we'll hear some cool stories about that. And secondly, is about community for him. And he loves to give back. He just got invited on to sit on a board. I'll have him talk about the Roots and Wings board that he sits on of helping the community that he's at. And if you get inside of money, it's got to be something bigger than just money. And so we're going to dive into this today with Fuquan, all the way from New Jersey. I appreciate you flying out. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. It's we talked in the back a little bit, and our stories are pretty similar, man.
Yeah.
The starting up point of it, right?
A lot of it is.
I want to talk, if you can, I want to talk a little bit about it, and from your standpoint. And a lot of times in these shows, people talk about success nonstop, right? I think one of the things that I found talking to you is your authenticity of being vulnerable. Like, you're not afraid. You talk about social media, right? And you started doing social media not to be the perfect Instagrammer, but just show the real life struggles of real estate and the day-to-day stuff of it. And this is it, behind the scenes. You want to see it. And I want to talk a little bit about going through some of those defeats and going through some of those failures and kind of what you learned from those processes that you went through, and to try to help some of the viewers here who are either in a dark place right now, in a failing, they just failed maybe from a business. How do we get through that, right? So give us a little bit of background here. Let's talk about this first. Give us a little bit of background here. You got into real estate in '99.
Yes.
First, what made you get into real estate?
Actually, I had a cousin of mine who was involved in real estate, and I was working a corporate job, and we've always, teased each other since we were younger, who made the most money, so on and so forth. So I was working for corporate. He got involved in real estate early '99, did a few deals, and made half my salary.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, I got to see what this is
about.
about.
Wait a second.
Yeah. So I started to shadow him around and learn the business. And I learned the other side. He was doing the fix and flips, and I learned the side of financing side. My brother was a loan officer.
Okay.
And he tried to recruit me many times to get involved. And I was like, I don't want to wait a month to get a paycheck. I want my steady biweekly paycheck.
Every
my
Friday.
Security.
Come on.
Yeah. So I stayed focused on just learning that side of the business and educating people on how to qualify for a loan, what the finances they need to have in order, how to understand the income and expenses, what the debt ratios were, and really dove deep into that part. And once I learned the finance part, then I combined forces with my cousin, and we just became this powerhouse. And we were in a community, I'm from Newark, New Jersey, as you mentioned. We were in a community where most people, pretty much 90% or 95% of people don't have financial literacy. Not something you talk about in the household. So that gave me my feeling of importance to bring that to the community and start teaching people how to qualify for a loan. Mm-hmm. And my cousin was doing the construction and everything. So once we combined forces, we were able to help people in the community get houses, and we made a lot of money from it as well.
Yeah. You said that and made me immediately think of a question that sometimes people get hit on a lot. You said, hey, we made a lot of money as well. Bad thing, good thing?
It was a good thing. I was telling you earlier, what gives me my feeling of importance in real estate is going to these communities and making a difference.
Yeah.
I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, where you come out your doorstep and it's the late 80s, right? It's drugs, crack valves, needles, everything. So houses burning down from different things. So going back into those communities, revitalizing them, giving the residents a better place to live, that kind of gave me more joy versus leaving the closing and looking at the HUD and saw I made, $50,000 or $40,000. I mean, I was a kid then, so it was exciting to make money then as well, but more exciting to actually revitalize the property and get the people a better place to live.
So you do this from '99 till 2007, basically.
Yeah.
And of course, we all know in 2007, everything in real estate flipped on its head, turns upside down. And walk me through a little bit about that process in 2007 when that hit. Because you were at that moment kind of king of the hill, right? And the family and so forth. How does that look?
Absolutely. So a lot of people who were really playing it big in real estate, they got punched in the face during that time. I think the biggest mistake for me was thinking that I knew it all.
Okay.
I wasn't connected to people. I wasn't in masterminds like I am today. I just thought I knew everything. And that was the biggest mistake because I didn't have any foresight on what was happening.
Okay.
And I took a big loss. It made me the man I am today, as I was sharing with you earlier, because it got me closer to my kids, right?
Yeah.
Because you lost everything. All you have now is your loved ones, which is free. Doesn't cost anything to love your own family. So started focusing more on that and putting more time into raising my kids and really focusing on becoming one with self. You got into a lot of meditation, reading, everything else. And I think that really created a stronger foundation for what was to come.
Yeah.
So that transition was pivotal, or whatever the word is.
Pivotal, maybe?
Yeah, pivotal, yeah.
Pivotal?
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, it kind
I
of
get
helped
ahead
me
of
pivot to, you know, what I am today, into the businessman and the father I am today. So I was grateful for that moment. I didn't look at it as a failure. I looked at it as a lesson. It was a very expensive lesson. As I shared with you, I took a major loss, but I came out ahead.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit deeper questions, if you don't mind, just because we went through some of the stuff in the room. But one of the things I thought that was unique about your experience was you refused to file bankruptcy.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So,
why was that?
Well, for me, I talked to a few private investors that I was dealing with at the time, and they said, you know, you can take the easy road out. If you do file bankruptcy, it's going to scar you for life.
Yeah.
And I spoke to one of the biggest investors I had. It was a hard money lender at the time out of New York. And my CPA was telling me, just file bankruptcy. You'll just get rid of all of them. You'll get rid of all of them. And it was for me, I was like, you know what? I did borrow the money. You know, even though it's not my fault what happened in the market,
yeah.
I have to pay these people back.
Yeah.
So the way those deals were structured in was I had skin in the game.
Yeah.
You know, I would borrow money for the acquisition, and I would do all the construction.
Yeah.
So when I had to fire sell everything, because values were dropping like crazy, you know, down to 65% of what the market was before. So when I started to fire sell everything, most of the losses came from money that I had in construction. I had all these properties renovated, and we were talking about that. You would be at the finish line at the closing, 3 days before the closing, boom, the bank went out of business. So a lot of that started to happen, a domino effect. Now I'm left with all these properties. I never rented properties. I wasn't a landlord. I just flipped properties.
Sure.
And that kind of forced me into the landlord business and learned that. And that was brutal because I didn't have systems. I didn't have the processes in place. And I was driving around collecting rents, you know, in the hood. So that was pretty tough. But I made it through that. And I made sure that all the properties that I sold, my investors got paid first. I took the loss. And I still have some of those investors with me today.
Yeah, even though they went through the 2007.
Yeah, I mean, they lost money from other people.
Yeah.
You know, I was one of the guys that actually paid them in full, as we agreed. Once we fire sold everything, I took a haircut, my equity out the window, and my money that I had in for construction out the window.
Yeah.
Paid them back. It took about 2 years for them to get the heart to start lending again, but it took me 2 years to get myself together as well. You know, going through a divorce and raising kids.
I want to talk about that because during this time as well, then you go through a divorce. Right in the middle of
it was just one thing after another.
Yeah.
Right. It was one thing after another, and I use real estate as a vehicle to fund other businesses. So I had a 25-chair hair salon. I had a 25-vehicle small transportation company transporting disabled children. I had a car wash. I had all these businesses at the same time, and we had like 54 employees. And with me and my former wife used to go out. It was all business. It was all, okay, what can we do with this business? It was never about us. And
the relationship.
Yeah, she's sort of writing on the wall, and then once things turn upside down, it was, you know, time to split.
Yeah.
So for me, during that time, I was hurt, and because I put a lot into it. We both put a lot into it, but I think we both walked away with the understanding that we knew that it was time to move on. And of course, anybody who goes through something like that, it kind of really tears something out of them, a part of them out of them, especially if you've been with someone for a long time. But for me, again, I look at that as a moment that has helped me transition into the person I am, because when she was out of the picture, now I just had my 2 boys, and I was able to focus 100% of my time with them. And it was able to, you know, it grounded me and it made me, humbled me a little bit more, and made me not be a slave of money, chasing money. We spoke about that earlier as well, to become more of a master of money, to figure out, okay, how do I make money work for me instead of me working for the money?
This is also where, although you probably already were in the side of it, but this is to me where the super dad is really, I'm gonna say, birthed at this time, right? In the sense of
Yeah, it's rare.
in the sense of what you went through is rare, that you ended up with him, and this is kind of this new journey of you dedicated and became super dad on purpose, like you chose this path. Talk to us a little bit about that, because it's such a rare
Yeah,
path.
it's rare. I meet a lot of people. Even the cleaning lady I just recently hired, she came to my house and she's doing cleaning, and she's like, okay, is this you and your 2 boys? I'm like, well, yeah, I just moved my mom, because I told you I took care of my mom for 10 years. I just got a house in Atlanta, and she's like, wow, where's the wife? And I'm like, there's no wife. She's like, you know, Mary? So, she's like, that's rare that a man would have custody of his boys and take care of them. And for me, it was, I didn't want another man to pass their values on to my kids, because at the time, I felt as though, okay, I lost everything else. This is all I have. At least I could do is make a difference in their life and create something here. So raising them, it is like, like I always reference, running a fund is like raising kids. Like there's so many surprises, there's ups and downs, good times, bad times. It really made me identify with myself more of who I was and what my mission was as far as raising my kids and what I had to do for them. And I love it. I love being a father. I love doing things with them. I would never before go walk with my former wife in the park with the stroller, push the kids on the swing. I was too busy chasing money. Yeah. And it's rare that when the breakup happens that the father have the kids. It's usually the mom have the kids and the dad is a weekend dad, and he pulls up, he takes the kid out and basically buy him stuff, and that's their relationship. Dad pulls up, we going out on the weekend, I'm gonna buy you stuff, and anytime you want something, just call dad. And I wanted it to be more than that. Yeah. I wanted to build my business around the schedule of my kids. So, and it is challenging, because as your business grow, you are in demand and you have to travel and do certain things. And even to this day, I travel with my youngest son. Sometimes my oldest son come with me, but my youngest son comes with me all the time, especially for the pandemic, because it's remote learning. Yeah. So he gets a chance to be in some of the same rooms that I'm in with different, high-power people, and it's amazing how it's shaping and molding. Shaping and molding them. Yeah,
no, it's super unique, man, that you went through all that and then kept the kids on full custody side, which is just so rare today, and it just tons of respect for you. Yeah, and last question, I'm going to tease you for a little bit, but during this time, you were telling me that you have not remarried. Now your boys are getting older. When you got them, they were 2 and 7. And now they're 18 and 13 going on 18, basically, right? Yep. And so once the last kid gets out and moves on, is that the time where the single ladies need to hit you up? Where do they go? Where do they go to hit you up at?
For me now, it's really, I'm kind of old school. Like I see people on these apps scrolling and looking for stuff, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think that everything happens for a reason. So I'm pretty sure that I'll meet someone with great energy, and our paths will cross, and we'll go from there. And it's funny because I'm working on my personal vision. And one of the exercises that I had to do was write everything that I don't like in a lady, right? Write the stuff that I don't like, and then write the stuff that I do like, and then what type of relationship with you want your boys to be in. There's another exercise I had to do. How do you see them as far as family and their companion and everything else? And then you look at what you don't like, what you like, and what your vision is for them, and then you kind of put it together. And then from there, you make certain goals that you want to achieve, and then you repeat them every day, and then the universe will bring that to you. Yeah. So that's the exercise that I'm working on now.
So the single lady has to find a way to get on that piece of paper somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Let's talk about the fun, because you've done this real estate, which a lot of guests that I've had on the show have done real estate, right? And you have the experience, 21 plus years into it, the good and the bad side of real estate, right? And you lived through it. And you've done the single family, the duplexes, the multis, the rental properties, the wholesale. You've done all these different things, but then you went and got into the fund. Yes. And that's a unique piece, because not a lot of people go to the next level, which is the fund side of it, right? Sometimes they'll get the syndication side, which is not a fund, that's different, right? But you went all the way to the fund. You've had your 4th fund open now. Talk to me a little bit to the viewers as to why did you go the fun route? What made you say, let's go there?
It's pretty interesting. Actually, my 18-year-old was the one who put the battery in my back. Okay. At the time, he was 8 years old, and I was doing short sales. Okay. And I had discovered the note business. As I told you, I buy distressed debt from banks as well. And I was like, oh man, these negotiators are giving a hard time. They don't want to give a homeowner a reprieve. They don't want to work anything out. And my son was like, why don't you just become the bank? I was like, that's impossible. And he was like, well, Dad, I thought you said anything was possible. He just looked at me with these eyes, and I'm like,
oh, yeah, that's right.
wow, yeah. So I started to do research on it. And I actually wrote a book called Turning Distress into Success. And I talk about that, about buying debt from banks and stuff like that. And what really was the eye-opener for me was I started to research it and started to speak to securities attorneys on how do you set up this vehicle and what protection you need to have. And through that discovery, I was like, wow, you can actually just really open up a bank. You can open up a vehicle where people can invest into real estate, was what I invested into, and that's how their money is secured. And it's unlimited on the money you can raise. And I never at the time looked at it like I can raise 50 million, 100 million. You know, my first fund was $2 million, and I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna raise this money? Because I didn't have accredited investors in my circle where I came from. Before, I raised money from small private doctors or just CPAs or different people who knew, but majority of it was hard money that I would raise. So for me, opening up that door kind of woke me up and was like, wow, I can really do this. So now it was about getting myself around people who had money, right? And to kind of show them my track record. And basically that's what it's been about. And a fund is a whole separate business.
Yeah.
It's a whole separate business.
It's almost like left brain, right brain to a certain degree, from real estate to fund. And a lot of times people that are trying to possibly get into it, they look at them as it's the same concept, if you will.
Yeah.
And to me, it never was. It's a totally different side.
Different animal. It's about people, right? It's about, a lot of people think that they're just gonna open, I have so many people hit me up, hey, can you show me how to do it? I'm like, it's not, it's about relationships.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
It's not just you're gonna open up a fund and you go out and you get to blast on social media, I got a deal, and people are gonna throw money at you. That's what people think. It's not that. It's about people get to know, like, and trust you.
Yeah.
Right? You have a track record.
Yeah.
And basically your reputation is everything. You know, you have to do what you say you're gonna do.
Right.
And once you've done that over years, then people begin to know, like, and trust you, and then they invest, and then it just become a domino effect. They start telling their friends and everything else. So it's all relationship, though.
Yeah.
It's all relationship, and it takes time. It takes time.
Let me ask you this: doing the funds now, do you have any regrets doing it, or is it all you feel like this is exactly what you were supposed to do when you did it?
No, I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. And the reason I said, as I was sharing with you earlier, I have this, I don't know if it's a problem inside of me, I'm never satisfied. So me figuring out how to do this, when I opened the door and spoke to the SEC manager years ago, I was like, wow, okay, this is a whole new world. It's completely different than just going to a hard money lender or somebody who has money in the IRA and say, hey, can you do a trustee loan for me or something like that. This is actually essentially creating your own bank and having the capital to deploy it when you want to deploy, as long as it's in line with your business plan that you have in your prospectus. But it just gives you the ability to kind of make a bigger impact. For me, it's like, okay, if I'm going to go in this community and buy 1 or 2 properties, okay, I'm going to make a difference. But if I raise 20 million or 30 million, I can go and buy 50 properties and change the whole community that way. Then that's what the mission needs to be. And that's why I think a fund is perfect for what I'm trying to do for the mission. Well,
on that topic of mission, community, I want to get into this Roots and Wings board that you're now sitting on. Tell me a little bit about what that is and what are you doing with it?
Yeah, so the Roots and Wings thing is something I just became a part of. It's great because it is, let's see, how can I explain it? It's basically kids that are in foster homes. Once they get to the age of 18 years old, they have no place to go. They're pretty much put on the street. So what this organization does is a nonprofit organization, and what we do is we help them transition, from when they turn 18, helping them fill out an application, get a job, going to college, whatever it is they desire, providing some financial literacy classes, helping them with an apartment and things of that. So it kind of helped those kids that are in that gap, so to speak, when they turn 18. And going back to the other thing, making a difference in the community, is I told you where I grew up at, so that gives me, it just makes me feel good to know that I can drive down a block and be like, I just rehabbed like 20 properties in this community. I did one small town where we did like 34 rehabs over the course of 2 years, but I did 17 of them in 19 months, 17 fix and flips. And these were properties that were people probably would have tore down. Yeah. And I have some of them on my Instagram. You can see I do a show called Walk Through with Fuquan. You can check that out there on my Instagram, and you'll see people are like, wow, I can't believe that you would fix that. Get the bulldozer, tear it down. But just giving the people in the community also jobs to kind of help with the demolition and stuff like that. It's really all a part of the impact. It's really good when you hire people within the community and do that.
It's unique because, you know, a lot of times people talk about it, and I hear people talk about helping community with real estate and revitalizing and so forth. And there's a buddy of mine that I know, his name's Greg. He's been on the show, Greg Slaughter. And man, this guy, kind of the same thing where like his whole business model was around a community that was completely like in the worst case scenario, basically. And it's kind of the same thing with these houses he's buying. We're like, dude, you should just bulldoze. you should bulldoze that, right? I think the dirt is worth more. But man, not looking back after like now he's been doing it for maybe like 7 years. I look back and think on his Instagram, you may think of it. He's just like house after house after house, where he has completely changed a community. In a small community of all these houses, and they're still rental properties, but he didn't just make them a rental, he made them a home. And it created this really cool journey that he's been on. And it feels like you're doing kind of the same thing with what you got going on.
Absolutely, and I'm in the trenches.
Yeah.
You know, like Gary always said, clouds in the dirt. And that kind of keeps the balance. You know, I'm in the trenches. I'm out there motivating the contractors and everything else. I mean, I have GCs and I have operational people that help me, but I like being out there. I don't like being behind a desk and a chair. Like, I need to be in the field and be a part of the action and making a difference. And I love the feeling when you walk through City Hall and people are like, yeah, you know, thank you for making a difference in our community. And, you know, it wasn't an outsider that came in and did this. It was someone within that made the difference. And
awesome.
I think that motivates a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure, man. Earlier you said you had other businesses in 2007. When you crashed, you had a car wash and the hair salon and so forth. Do you have other businesses now? Or are you
everything
strictly
is real estate.
Everything is real estate
Everything,
now.
the one thing.
All right, now tell me that. Okay, I was going to ask you. Tell me why. Tell me why.
Well, actually, I read this book called Multiple Streams of Income back then, and I got the wrong idea from it, and I thought that I would use real estate as a vehicle and open up these different businesses. Now, you can successfully do that if you have an integrator, if you have a great operations person and you're just a visionary and they will execute. You can be successful at having multiple businesses. At that time, I just was taking money that I had, large chunks of cash that I made from real estate transactions, and just throwing them to other businesses without really sitting down and saying, okay, why do I want to do this business? It was just, I used to park my transportation vehicles in this car wash that this guy owned, and I'm like, man, if I owned this car wash, I would do this, I would do that. It's a cash cow. He's letting all his money go. Customers. So I convinced him over years of selling it to me. And when I got it, this is the worst business ever. This is crazy. But the beauty about that business was I was able to help people re-enter in the community. It was a big tax write-off for people who did, you know, prison and they came home to re-enter the community. If you hired them, you got a big tax write-off. I think at the time it was like $15,000 a head that you get, and I was like, oh, let's hire everybody. Yeah. So, you know, but just you have to be careful of the environments you put yourself in, because it could be like tug of war. You're pulling one way, you got 7 people on the other end. There's no mental stimulation. So I think that's where I went wrong, is being involved in these businesses that really was not mentally stimulating. Yeah. And it kind of brought me down morally. But real estate, on the other hand, was great because I dealt with attorneys, CPAs, and different high-level people. Transportation business was great because it was impact. I got to help disabled children and transport them back in school, getting contracts from the Board of Education. So back then, that was really good. And the hair salon was just, okay, I'm going back to the hood. I'm going to open something up, and I'm going to give people a chance to be their own boss, because they just rented chairs. And it's like, okay, you come, I'll promote you on the radio, pass out a bunch of flyers, market, the business comes in the door, you pay me weekly for the chair. So it was like real estate play. Sure. And it gave me a chance to give people in the community, you know, uplift them to work, the hairstylist or the barber. They were their own boss. They made their own hours, and they just paid rent. So I like that, but it was just a little bit too much because it pulled me in too many different directions. Yeah. Right. And it took a lot away from home, which was the foundation. Yeah. I think about Andrew Carnegie. I love studying Andrew Carnegie. And he's one of the guys that he said, put all your eggs in one basket and then watch that basket like a hawk. And it's unique how he did it if you follow his story. And it's kind of what you're going through now is like, dude, I'm in real estate, and I may have different verticals inside of real estate, right? Absolutely. But I'm in it, and I know everything about this. You're a master, if you will, of I love it. Real estate, right? I love it. I mean, it's still so much to learn, right? Real estate, of course. There's so much you can learn in real estate, how to structure deals and creative financing, and a lot of different ways that you can make money in real estate.
One question I have just for the audience here, if they want to, you mentioned a while ago, I didn't ask you about it, but you mentioned about the book that you wrote,
Turning Distress into Success. Yeah.
If they want to get a copy of that book, is there a way?
It's on Amazon.
Just go to Amazon?
Sure. Amazon.
And then get on there,
Yep.
okay.
I wrote another one called Passion for Real Estate Investments, and I just wrote that about a year ago. And that talks about the different things you could do within real estate, investing from your IRA or doing a fix and flip or buying a tax lien. Just the different strategies that I've used over the years. I kind of shared the how-tos in that book.
Gotcha. And that's also on
Amazon
as well. And give the name of that one more time.
Passion for Real Estate Investments.
Passion for Real Estate Investments. And then just before we move on, just while I'm on this note, if they want to follow you, where's the best place for them to follow you?
On Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, at Fuquan Bilal.
So they're all the same. So we'll put in the notes as well, but it's all the same on Facebook, Instagram, and what was the one you said?
YouTube.
YouTube. It's all the same. Okay, so we'll put that on there as well. And on that note, we talked a little bit about how your boys help you with some of that stuff. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was, a few years ago, I wasn't on Facebook. If you looked at my Facebook feed, you'll see I just got on like 2019. And Facebook been around for a while. And I remember back in the day, I used to see people at the club taking pictures and this and that. I was like, they're wasting their time.
Food.
With their closet, the shoes. And I was like, all right, I don't want to be a part of this. And I went to see Gary Vaynerchuk at a show, and I got reamed on me because he was like, "Hey, are you on Facebook? Are you on Facebook?"
So, tell the story. So you were sitting in the front row.
Yeah, so the front row. It's like a Facebook loser, like Gary is. So I'm like, oh. So my guy was like, dude, like you do so much with your updates to investors and everything else. There's so much content that you already have. And I did a lot of public speaking and everything else that we would record and everything else. So I had all this content that I wasn't monetizing. And I hired somebody right away, and I was like, look, I don't want to make this like a bragging thing about, I want to kind of humanize myself. I want to show people behind the scenes, the challenges that I go through when I'm renovating stuff or just my everyday life.
Right.
So he's like, okay, you have to do this exercise where you just pick up your phone, you start recording stuff with your kids, start recording some of the behind the scenes stuff. So I started to do that. And then my kids always ask me, hey, Dad, I want to do this, I want to do that, I need to do money for this. And I was like, well, don't ask me for money, ask how you can earn money. So it turned into this big challenge, and they started to learn how to edit video and everything else. And they started editing a lot of the social media content for me that's on my social media.
Yeah.
So if you see some videos that are like grainy and not too perfect, it's just raw. And it's real stuff. So they helped me out with that. And that's how I paid them, to put money in their IRA account.
I love two things. I think there's two great points you make right there. Number one is authenticity. Like, this is me and my cell phone, I grabbed it and let's go shoot what it is, right? I love that side of it. There's a lot of truth there. And then I love that you brought your kids inside of it, right? And I love that you're teaching them not just how to, hey, I want this new video game, go buy it for me, right? And there's a time and a place for that as a father to do that type of stuff. But I love that you're getting them to think. Like, okay, hey, I need this or I want this. How can I go get that? And I love that you're doing that.
It's also teaching them about money management, right? Because they have this tracker in Excel where they calculate the money. With my youngest son, we had this thing that every time I would curse, he would get $25, right? And he would love to hang around me, especially when the contractors was around. He was sitting in the back seat waiting. And when we travel and go to certain places and stuff like that, and he would come back like that. I got $325. You said a curse at this day, this time, and this was the scene. And he tracks it in Excel, and then when he spends it, he tracks it. And my oldest son do the same thing.
Awesome.
And I learned that from when I was younger. We used to spend money and keep track of it with our receipts, and we used to keep a ledger, like your savings account back in the day. Savings account, you had a ledger, and you would deduct everything you spent. And that's teaching them how to manage the money. They never want to spend their money. They always want to spend my money. But
it's still
when we go out to eat, I'm like, hey, you got money, treat. What do you mean? It's your responsibility as a father to feed us.
Right? They're smart, man. They're good. I got another question for you I want to hit you with. If you can, just tell us a little bit about where do you see the company going next 3 to 5 years? Where are you taking it?
Yeah, this is great. Along with the impact projects, we're going out of state now. And a lot of the real estate I do is in New Jersey. Of course, I buy distressed debt from banks as well. That's nationwide. What I like about that, just to jump into that real quick, it gives me the ability to buy paper at a discount from the bank and then share my discount with the homeowner that's in foreclosure who may not be able to afford the $1,200 a month payment they had. But maybe if I buy the note at a discount, I can make the payment $800 and they can start paying again. So that's one of the strategies we do within real estate also. But as far as the real property real estate, we're looking to do these impact projects out of state now. Like I just put under contract a 95 unit in Alabama, and in an area where most investors would be afraid to go.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of things that's happening, a lot of revitalization is happening in the surrounding areas. And I want to be the first one in to go in and start making a difference. I even got the mayor involved with this project.
Awesome.
So, starting to go to different states and different communities and do, the same blueprint that I set up in my own hometown. So that's where we're taking the next.
Awesome, man. Good for you. And I got one more question before I go through my big question here. I want to ask you a two-part question here, okay? And I want you to give the viewers, the audience, some context and structure around this. And the question I love to ask people, and I stole this from Elon Musk, okay? And it's two things here, two parts, all right? First one is, tell us about what would you say is the biggest business setback or struggle or hard journey that you went on that really just shook you, that was a big thing you had to go through, right? What is that big thing that you had to deal with inside a business? What was that? And then number two, how did you overcome it? What were the steps to overcome that massive fight, struggle, thing that you went through in business? So two
I would
questions.
definitely say that's a great question. Being true to yourself, I think being vulnerable was the biggest thing I struggled with, right? Because I wanted to be Superman. I wanted to be, hardcore. I never wanted to share any of the emotions or the stuff that I went through. So when I learned how to be more vulnerable, that's when I started to grow as a person.
Wow,
when I really started to share,
really
when I really started to share my true self with people, the challenges that I was going through, because people look at me and are like, oh, you do everything so, perfect and everything else. And I was like, no, you don't know what I go through. So when I started to join masterminds and share the challenges that I would go through with people who pretty much have some of the same challenges, that made me grow as a person. So by me continuing to be vulnerable in certain situations and being able to go share some of the challenges and struggles and look for help.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody want to look for help.
Yeah.
That has helped me grow tremendously.
Man, that's a great point, because I sit here and think about how many entrepreneurs, myself included, we feel like we have to wear this facade or the cape, if you will, of like Superman, and we have everything put together and everything is there and we can't show a weakness. And in reality, sometimes the stuff that we're struggling with is massive. But we run away from showing vulnerability to it. And once you start showing the vulnerability, it's amazing how much help shows up. But when you never show the vulnerability, no one knows where to help or how to help, right? I've had so many, when I opened up, became more vulnerable to like, hey, this is my life, this is the reality. It's amazing how many of my business associates kind of stepped in and said, hey, dude, I can help you right here. Like this was their strength, if you will. And they would jump in and try to help in a certain area. They weren't even charging me, they were just trying to help me because it was their strength. And it was an awesome two-way street there once I opened up the vulnerability side.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, especially from where I come from. I mean, you have to have this shield, you know, coming up in the areas where I grew up at. You really have to have tough skin to kind of get through, people making fun of your shoes and sneakers. I mean, we grew up, as I was telling you, really rough. My mom used to buy sneakers from the supermarket. Yeah. And you got
maybe whatever, some beans and chicken and tofu and then sneakers at the same store.
We ate good. I mean, everybody has the oodles and noodles story, I'm sure, or SpaghettiOs or whatever. But I'm so grateful of those moments. And my mom actually installed the hustler spirit in me. She used to take us on the weekends. She used to hustle. She used to go to Chinatown, buy the stuff wholesale.
Wow.
We would go out, we would pay for a booth for the day, and we would retail it. Yeah. And we would sell hats, scarves, and stuff like that. So she actually built the salesman in me and installed the hustler spirit, but did the best she could with what she had. Yeah. With 5 kids, single mom. So I'm grateful for that. It taught me a lot. It made me resilient to a lot of different things. I walk in a room and I look at people sometimes like, you have no idea. Like, I'm about to eat you alive because of the way I grew up.
I said last one, man. I want one more thing from you, because I thought this was something that you taught me in my office, and I thought, man, this is so inspiring. And I want you, if you can, just briefly talk to you a little bit about your mom and kind of what you went through and what you did, and then how you just recently set her up. Can you tell us a little bit about, because this is part of what money does?
For sure. I mean, growing up, and I go through the same thing with my kids, right? Because my mom was very disciplined all the time, and I would look at that as she would nag me, she would be on top of me, but she didn't want me to be a victim to the streets. So we grew up in an Islamic community. She kind of sheltered us. It was like discipline, militant, everything else, and I frowned upon that when I was younger. But didn't realize over the years that discipline actually had helped me, in my dieting, in my rituals every day, everything else, the discipline that she set, and the things that she done on the weekend and took us out. So as I became older and became more successful in real estate, pay homage to mom, take care of my mom financially and doing things that I needed. And when I got divorced, my mom was there for me, and she had actually had what the doctors diagnosed her with early dementia. And I don't believe that was true because she still has all her faculties and she drives and do a lot of things. I think it's just the mental stimulation wasn't there, maybe some depression or something. So, she came to live with me. She lived with me for 10 years and, put her in yoga class, Zumba class, gave her a car, and she helped out with the kids and everything while I was growing my business. So it was really good. And now it was just still paying homage and know that she needed her own space. Because after a while, even when you live with family, the energies get, twisted. Yeah. We was talking about that. And I was like, okay, Mom, I'm at a stage in my life. I'm still single. I have my 2 boys. Most of our family is down south, so I kind of want to set you up, for success there. So my brothers and sisters, we all got, together and, pretty much got a house. And she's happy now. She has her own space. She's around family and everything else. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And that made me feel good. It wasn't a burden. It was more of a blessing.
Sure.
It was tough, though, because when my mom first came to live with me, I was dating. I would go hang out in the city. It was like 1 in the morning. My mom's calling me. I'm like, hello? She's like, oh, you're still out? And the girl's like, because she heard a female voice, who's that? I'm like, that's my mom. You live with your mom? No, my mom
lives with me. Like, sure she does.
Then she don't call me back.
Yeah, of course. You got ghosted immediately. That's awesome.
So, but it's awesome.
So
moms are beautiful.
Yeah. I love my mom, and such an awesome story, man. I wanted you to share that because I just thought it was inspiring, and hopefully it helps some other people to pay homage when they need to pay homage to those that are in their lives, right? It's super important.
Yeah, it's important. It's really about the memories. And my mom traveled with me also when I would go to Puerto Rico and take my kids and different places we went to. She traveled with me and came along. So it was really good to be able to, because knowing she wasn't able to have that. She raised us and she grinded really hard, 2 jobs and everything else. So making her comfortable is really important to me.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. On that note, because I want to get into the money is question, because that's kind of what money is, one of the things that you can obviously do with money. So I have your sign here of money is blank, and man, you look like an absolute stud.
Thanks,
You don't have the glasses on, but you look like a movie star in that photo, man. Did your boys Photoshop that for you?
No.
That's the real deal right here. So what I want you to do, man, I will give you the Sharpie. You take it, you put your answer in right here, sign it right here, and then me and you can talk about what money is to you. All right, you got it?
Yep.
Here we go. To Fuquan out of New Jersey.
Yes.
He said money is energy.
Yes.
Money is energy. And that's such a unique word. And I'm going to tell you a couple things here before, because I want to get your information on it. But uniquely enough, when I saw you wrote energy there, I thought in the room, it was one of the key words that I just kind of pick up on what people are truly talking about. And I don't remember when you talking about, when you mentioned energy in the house and so forth. And I feel like that was one of those things about you that was very unique about you, was your a sense of energy. I thought it meant a lot to you. And yesterday, for the first time, I was on a podcast, and someone actually for the first time asked me, hey, you ask all these people what money is. What does money mean to you? And I've never actually answered it for people. And I said, man, it's tough because I've heard so many great answers, right? And I said, but I can give you kind of my top 3, because I just don't know where I fall yet. And one of them is energy. And awesome. My top 3, one is a revealer. I think money is a revealer. It just reveals who you are. It's not going to change you when you get it. It's just going to show more of who you really are inside. It's going to reveal that, right? And number 2 is energy. I think money is energy.
Yes,
so I want to hear your answer. And
money is, I feel as though it's energy because it can change the energy of a person. It could change the energy of a room. It could change a lot with energy. So, people, some people say, money can't make you happy. Some people say because they just didn't have enough of it. It can do a lot where it can make an impact on a community. And change the whole energy of a community, the whole dynamic of it. So for me, it's always constant moving. So it's energy in that way as well. And it's a lot of different ways you can go down a rabbit hole and talk about the energy of money, but it's what moves people. Not, as I mentioned before, I was a slave of money, chasing it, and now I'm a master of it because I learned how to put it to work and earn interest on it and do certain things. So. Yeah, that's my thing. Money is energy. I think that it changes lives in people, people's lives. It changes people from being sad to happy.
Yeah.
And the other way around too.
Yeah.
You know, so it could be a positive energy, a negative energy.
Yeah, no, it's totally true, man. I think when I think of the answer money is energy, I always think about money, the physical $20 bill, $50 bill, $100 bill, whatever it is. It represents, if you stop and think about it for a second, all money represents is what I call stored energy, okay? So for you to get money, for me to get money, doesn't matter, right? For anybody to get money, energy is going to be spent from us, right? So if you go flip a house, right, whether you're super involved or high level involved, it doesn't matter, you will spend energy for that. And in return, right, if you have a job, if someone's working somewhere and they're working at the post office, it doesn't matter. They spend energy, those 40, 50 hours a week. In return, what they're getting is a physical representation of the energy that they spent. So if you want more money, you have to understand what type of energy you're spending on a certain thing. So money to me just represents, the physical money just represents stored energy.
Absolutely.
And when we trade money, right, I buy something from you, I invest with you, it's a transfer of energy. This is my energy that I'm literally physically giving you.
Correct.
The money is just a physical representation of the energy that I had to go spend to acquire this. I'm going to transfer that energy to you. So that's why I believe money, it really is energy.
Correct. Even when you're raising capital, I speak to a lot of investors, and they only invest if they get a good energy.
Yes, they will all tell you that. They will all tell you that, man.
I always double back. Hey, why did you invest with me?
Yes.
I felt what you were saying. You had a good energy, and I felt it was right to do that.
They want to see the numbers. They want to see the project or whatever it is. But I'm telling you, out of all the times that I have raised capital, like you've raised capital, at the end of the day, it came down to there was good energy between me and that investor, or vice versa. Even when I go and invest with someone, yes, I want to know the project, I want to know the numbers, I want to know that stuff, but I want to know you. I want to know the energy that you have, and because that's really what I'm investing in, right? And to prove the point here, think about this. Your investors in 2007 or prior to that, when they were investing in you, were they investing in real estate? Yes. But they were really investing in you, and it paid off for them.
Yeah.
Because when the real estate went bad, well, but you didn't go bad. Because what they were investing in was that energy that you had. They said, man, I'm gonna put this bet, this investment, if you will, on Fuquan.
Yeah.
That's my investment, right?
Money is energy.
Yeah. So it's a great answer, man. I absolutely love it, man. Awesome.
Is that is that a one of one answer, or did you have? You've had that before, probably.
I have to look. I have to go back. If someone's done it, it's the low
awesome.
Number. It's a low one. If someone's done it, it would be a low one.
One of one.
I've always thought that, and I don't really get to share a lot, but yeah, man, I've always thought that. So awesome answer, man. You're such a humble person.
Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate
so much success
this.
You've had and the struggles, but man, such a complete sense of humbleness that I feel like you represent, and authentic to who you are, and not afraid to share that experience, that life that you've had, and hopefully it's been a benefit to many of the listeners and viewers here today. They can follow in those footsteps, and maybe even your boys. And I think the 18-year-old you said is about to come to work with you soon and follow those footsteps, man. So completely a privilege to have you on the show, man. A privilege to get to know you today, and hopefully look forward to working with you a lot in the future, man. I absolutely love it. For you guys watching the show, this is the Money Is Show. Guys, make sure you follow Fuquan and his fund management that he has going on. We will see you next week on the Money Is Show.